Welcome in, along with Eric Eager. I'm Steve Palazzolo. Today discussing the PFF College Top 25 with a particular focus on the Top 10. It's all brought to you by Eckridge, the official smoked sausage of the college football playoff. Of course, you guys can get to eckridgefootball.com right now and sign up for their $1 million challenge. There's still games coming to a town near you. And then there's always the national championship. It's right there. Sign up at eckridgefootball.com. It's open to everyone. All right, Eric, you're the one who does all the numbers here, taking everything in after all the games are in every single weekend. There's a little bit of movement this week in the PFF College Top 25. I want to focus on the Top 10 because it seems like the Big Ten has really taken a hit. A lot of people looking at the Ohio States of the world to maybe carry the banner for the Big Ten and maybe get to the college football playoff, but not a great weekend for the Big Ten, but they're still lurking around here in our top 10.
Yeah, I think Michigan has an impressive victory against Michigan State on the road in the elements. Shea Patterson didn't play particularly well, but I think with Ohio State losing and losing convincingly to Purdue, they sort of jump as being one of those teams that has a possibility to make the college football playoff. They play Ohio State later in the season. I think that's really going to be a big one. For the second consecutive year, Ohio State loses a convincing game, making their ability to get in that top 4 questionable.
Ohio State dropped from 3 to 10. And this is a system, you know, like in the AP poll, there's a lot of touchy-feely. I saw them go to Purdue. They lost. I'm going to drop them a lot. How difficult is it for Ohio State to drop from 3 to 10 in 1 week?
Yeah, I mean, it's considerable, right? Because you need to not only get beat on the scoreboard, but get beat in our Pro Football Focus grades. You also need to have other teams have, a substantial, rise above you in terms of theirs, which we kind of did see with Michigan and even Penn State. Not convincing against Indiana, but still better than Ohio State did. Wisconsin, a good performance as well against Illinois. So it is a really substantial drop for them. What we do see, though, is we see up top, we see Clemson really getting a convincing win against a team we've liked all year in NC State.
Yeah, so that was the big one for me. We've looked at Clemson all year and said, okay, a couple things, in my opinion, really needed to happen, and the numbers were backing this up. Trevor Lawrence taking over at quarterback has definitely changed that passing attack. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I was a little worried about their back seven, their coverage unit, something that has been so good at Clemson year over year. This was a statement game because I thought they went from perhaps a weakness to what looked like a strength. Ryan Finley, one of the better quarterbacks in the country, couldn't do anything against that back seven. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence is just hammering deep out after deep out. Finley couldn't complete those passes. I thought it was just this perfect storm for Clemson and well-deserved that they move up to number 2. Yeah,
I mean, when you looked at our data, right, it didn't look like a very easy quarterback matchup for Clemson. Finley had been the highest-graded player on a per-snap basis in the ACC. That passing offense was the most efficient in the ACC on early downs, but also on every down. And so that was a really big surprise. And I think, with Notre Dame idle this week, they obviously moved down, but it's more because Clemson was so impressive. They creep up here, still second behind Alabama, who, the difference between Alabama and Clemson right now numerically is probably the same as the difference between the number 2 team and the number 6 team in our rating. Wow. So there's still a long way to go for any team to really challenge Alabama, where I think the narrative is they haven't really played anybody so far, and that's, I think, fair, but they've taken care of business in a way that they should every single time. Their quarterback is still yet to really play any meaningful snaps in the second half of games.
Yeah, in an emphatic fashion, Alabama wins every week, and you could say the same thing. Hey, Ohio State went to Purdue. That's not a tough matchup on paper, and not only did they not take care of business, they got absolutely smoked. So.
All right, man, I think I finally got it figured out. I'm going to throw the ball through the kitchen window, off the doghouse, rocketing up and off the bird feeder, all the way through the target.
I don't know, man. That's a really tough angle. I think you got to ditch the bird feeder.
How long did that take you?
Couple hours.
You could have just gone off the porch column.
That's a good-looking plate of food.
The Eckridge $1 Million Challenge is back. Enter at eckridgefootball.com for your chance to win.
What do you think? Seriously, dude?
I do think, when you see rankings, Alabama 1, Clemson 2, when you can really isolate the difference between those two and how much further ahead Alabama truly is, I think it shows up every single Saturday. That's why they are dominating. Looking out at the rest of the top 5 real quick. Oklahoma, pretty good win against TCU. And then Georgia, they were idle. They're going to Jacksonville to take on Florida in a huge game this week. How far can Georgia potentially move up with a win over Florida?
Yeah, I mean, Florida's a team kind of in that middle, of the top 50 for us in terms of our ratings. So I think if they're convincing and you see Oklahoma fall a little bit or some of the teams ahead of them fall, they can possibly get into that conversation like they did a season ago, getting into the college football playoff. But if I look at Notre Dame, I think is pretty strong, and I project them probably to win the rest of their games. Clemson, Alabama, the same thing. Oklahoma, they really need Oklahoma, I think, to falter here for anything really meaningful for them to happen in the college football playoff picture.
Yeah, so too early to write off Georgia. They're actually ahead of LSU on our system, which doesn't necessarily take into account the fact that they lost to LSU straight up. It's the entire season, and Georgia still looking good. They still have a shot to get to the college football playoff.
Yeah, LSU is a team that has won on the scoreboard many times when they've actually lost in our grades. So them being at 6 is a combination of those factors, and hopefully they do well, moving forward here. But that's what's really baked into that number there.
So there you have it. It's the PFF College Top 25 with some big shakeup in the top 10. Of course, it's all brought to you by Eckridge, the official smoked sausage of the college football playoff. Don't forget to pick up Eckridge smoked sausage at your local grocery store for this weekend's tailgate or homegate party. And be sure to visit EckridgeFootball.com for great game day recipes and to enter the season-long $1 Million Challenge.